very early on, I went to interview someone called Professor Earl Miller, who's one of the leading neuroscientists in the world. He's at MIT. And he said to me, look, you need to understand one thing more than anything else about the human brain. You can only consciously think about one or two things at a time.
Yes.
That's it. This is just a fundamental limit of the human brain.
Yes.
There's nothing we can do about it. It ain't going to change on any time scale you and I are going to see. But what's happened is we've fallen for a mass delusion. The average American teenager now believes they can follow 6 or 7 forms of media at the same time. So what happens, I know, it knocks you back when you read that. Although, speak to any teenager and they're entirely confident it's the case. And so what happened is Professor Miller's colleagues, loads of scientists over the world, what they've done is they get people into labs and they get them to think they're doing more than one thing at a time, and they monitor them. And what they discover is, whenever you think you're doing more than one thing at a time, you're not. You're juggling. You're juggling very rapidly between tasks. You're going, wait, what was that thing on Facebook? What did Tucker just ask me? What's this thing in the news? What's that on the TV over there? You're juggling, juggling, juggling. And it turns out this comes with a really big cost. The fancy title name for it is the switch cost effect. When you try and do more than one thing at the same time, you do all the things you're trying to do much less competently. You make more mistakes, you remember less of what you do, you're much less creative. And when I say that, and I remember when I first heard it, you think, okay, that feels intuitively right, but that's a small effect, right? This is a big effect. There's lots of research that shows us this. I'll give you an example of a small study. You know Hewlett-Packard, Hewlett-Packard, the printer company.
Yes.
So they got in a scientist and they wanted to look into this. So he divided their workers into 2 groups. And the first group was told, just do whatever your task is and you're not going to be interrupted. And the second group was told, do whatever your task is, but you've got to answer a heavy load of email and phone calls. So pretty much how most of us live these days. And at the end of it, they tested the IQ of both of them. The group that had not been interrupted scored on average 10 IQ points higher than the group that had been interrupted. To give you a sense of how big an effect that is, if you smoke cannabis and get stoned, in the short term your IQ goes down by 5 points. So being distracted is twice as bad for your intelligence as getting stoned. You'll be better off sitting at your desk, getting stoned and doing one thing at a time, than sitting at your desk, being constantly distracted and not getting stoned. To be clear, it'd be better to do neither if you want to be able to focus.
Yeah.
But this is why Professor Miller said to me, we live in a perfect storm of cognitive degradation as a result of being constantly interrupted. And this effect runs throughout the day. One different scientist found that if you're interrupted, it takes you on average 23 minutes to get back to the level of focus you had before you were interrupted.
That is so true.
You can feel it, right? But most of us never get 23 minutes without being interrupted. So we're constantly living at this profoundly diminished level of brain power at the moment. And we can sense it, right? We know that's happening to us.